Hey, what's up, guys? Build the universe, and I want to talk to you about something that's kind of interesting to me. It's hmm, how should I explain this? It's a certain dynamic that I noticed, and at first this video was going to be about Aslacia, and I definitely will talk about that. But it's I don't know. It's more about something else, kind of like a pattern I noticed. Not I don't know. It's interesting. So what got this started? Have you ever seen The New World? It is such a beautiful movie. It's a very accurate account of the story of Pocahontas, the actual story of Pocahontas and John Smith. It's still a Hollywood film, so it's not exactly accurate, but it's a hell of a lot more accurate than the Disney movie Pocahontas. So while the Disney movie Pocahontas is like what 30% accurate, 25% accurate, this movie is probably like a good 70-75% accurate. So there's a lot more accuracies. The storyline is pretty spot on, so it's pretty interesting. It's a wonderful movie. You know, me being a moon native, and this is definitely what I'm going to talk about for sure. Is moon nakshatras, the energy of the moon. You know, so me being a moon native myself, I'm a Hasta moon. I really resonated with this movie. You know, it's actually now that I'm saying this, actually anyway, never mind. So the reason why I like moon things, not just because I'm a moon person, is because moon people are kind of psychedelic. Moon people are strange. They're not afraid of being strange. They, as Celine Dion once said, they follow the waves of the ocean. And that's so true. Moon people are people that are highly intuitive. They are. I mean, I guess you could say psychic. Yeah, you could say their moon people are psychic. I actually know a lot of Mars people that are psychic as well. Like Mars people are straight up. They see ghosts. They can talk to ghosts. They like straight up. But moon people are actually the most interested in metaphysics. They are the people who have a very deep emotional connection to moon related things. So, as you know, moon is very feminine and moon is very receptive. It's the most receptive celestial body in our solar system. So this is why the moon is like considered like the mother, while the sun is the father. And then you also think about the fact that uh, moon, moon based religions and philosophies will very much have everything to do with Mother Nature. They work with herbs. They are very ceremonial people. Moon people are very I'm not thinking of the right word right now, but they're very just hippie like that. You know, they're very far out. Moon people are, so if you think like of someone who's a go-getter and someone who has a lot of drive behind them and someone who sets goals and really goes after them that really wouldn't be so much moon. But if you see someone who is very chill, very relaxed, someone who is very sensual, very in touch with their body in a sensual way, this would be moon. So this is actually why moon people and Venus people can get along very well, because both of them are very feminine and both of them are very sensual. But the difference would be Venus is a Manusha planet, so Venus is a lot more driven, is a lot more focused on harnessing the resources of the earth. But moon people are much more interested in being one with the resources of the earth. They are interested in being one with Mother Nature. Venus is more about conquering Mother Nature and in manipulating it, which is why Venus people are some of the richest people on earth. But then again, so is moon people. Moon people can be incredibly rich as well, but they do it in a much more passive way. They'll do it through passive streams of income, whereas Venus people, they just straight up own businesses, own companies, they, stuff like that. So anyway, so I was watching New World, and I'm looking at Colin Farrell, which, by the way, yummy as fuck. He looks good in that movie. So if you're a Colin Farrell fan, watch that movie. So I was thinking that he was Aslasha because Aslasha men, Aslasha is a star in Cancer, and it's actually not technically. It's actually a star within Hydra, the constellation, and Hydra is mythically tied to a beast that is guarding the doorway to Hades. So even though we associate Aslasha as a Sattvic star because it's ruled by Mercury, we mythologically it's actually very very severe. So, but at the same time, Aslasha is within Cancer, and Cancer is a moon ruled Rashi. So it's got a lot of back and forth. At the same time, it's a very severe star because it's part of the constellation of Hydra. But then being part of Cancer, it's very beautiful, and it's already been proven that Cancer is the most beautiful sign. So, when a man is Aslasha, he can be very fierce and very strong and be very volatile, but he can also be very beautiful. So you think about Tom Hardy, who is a football player. He was a very beautiful guy, but at the same time, he was very fierce. He was a quarterback, and he was an incredibly successful one too, right? So that would be an example of Aslasha expressing both the fierceness and the beauty. So then another man who was Aslasha is Thor. What's his name? Chris Hemsworth. He is also an Aslasha son, I think. He's super attractive, very beautiful, but at the same time, he is Thor, right? Thor has the hammer, Thor strikes, so Thor is very, very severe as well, very, very strong. So I thought, man, is this Colin Farrell? I was just wondering, and I saw that no, he wasn't um, Aslasha, because I was like, well, I'm getting Aslasha vibes. And of course, Moon, like I said, Moon is the mother, and Moon is also the earth. Moon is very, very tender and kind and very emotional. So, it makes sense that you have Moon women playing Pocahontas because Moon is all about the earth and being one with the earth and being one with nature. So, sorry. So, Colin Farrell is not an Aslasha. What he is a Rohini sun. So that energy I got wrong, but it's still very very similar because Rohini is a star ruled by the moon. So that is the reason why he's very beautiful, right? But Rohini, which is a star in Taurus, so he's a Taurus moon. Rohini is actually can be very, very, very dangerous. Rohini can be a killer. Rohini has a very, very severe mentality. They are not above killing. They a lot of them are very comfortable with violence. A lot of them are very comfortable with blood and gore. Rohini can be incredibly dangerous. It's funny because Rohini sitting in Taurus, that's Venus. So you have beauty there, but specific because it's Taurus. But specifically, Rohini is known for being actually also very invading star. So that's interesting that Colin Farrell, who's a Rohini son, played John Smith. Because that's very much how a lot of the natives at that time were seeing the Europeans was as invaders, right? So I thought that was very interesting. Also, on a personal note, every time I've had like really gory or nasty dreams, it's always under a Rohini moon, and it's always like it always feels invading. I always wake up from a dream under Rohini moon, and I'm always like, what the fuck was that? I'm always thinking like it almost feels like an energy was invading me. And actually, when like last year my house burned down, that night I had a dream that a huge man, which makes sense because Albadarian is the star of Rohini. Albadarian is like 100 times the size of the sun. And I had a dream that this huge man was trying to kill me. And then I woke up and then I took my mom for a walk. And then when we came back to the house, our house was on fire. Like literally, it was a really, really, really strong fire. So the day my house burned down, it was a Rohini moon. So Rohini is known for being very, very, very harsh, even though it's also very beautiful. So I thought that was very, very interesting. Okay, now here's the thing about Aslesha. The thing about Aslesha is I was almost gonna call this video like Aslesha innocent and wild, because that's exactly what Aslesha is. So you think about the yoni, the yoni for Aslesha, which is the cat. Cats are very beautiful, right? Cats are very they're lovely creatures. You know, I love cats personally. So many people love cats. Kitties are just the cutest thing ever. Cats are so funny. You know, they look like furry little fur balls, you know, but they are predators. You know, cats hunt. And the reason why they're so quirky is because they're actually so much more connected to their wild side than dogs are. So, you know, um, cats are very much like that. So, and it's funny because, and also you think about it that cats are so much less dependent on humans than like dogs are. You know, a cat can run around everywhere all day. You know, cats can go. You look up videos of people putting GPS trackers on their cats. Cats go everywhere and they'll find their way back home. Cats don't need humans, right? Cats are very, they don't need civilization. Cats don't need a human's influence. They just want a human's influence. They want the human's food, but they don't actually need it, you know. And cats can go all day, all week, you know, and then come back. There's so many stories about cats leaving for sometimes years and then just coming back randomly, you know. So cats are very much like that. They're very beautiful, yet they're very wild, and they don't need a human's help. They don't need that civilized help the way that dogs do. So the actress Orianka, her Getu is in Aslesha. So Aslesha, you know, you think about Pocahontas, and not to say that the natives were wild, you know, but I mean, they did live in the wild. You know, they did, you know, they weren't, quote unquote, as living this highly civilized life the way that the Europeans were. And I'm sorry if this sounds triggering, you know. First of all, I'm actually Native myself. I'm like 40% Native American myself, and so please try not to be so triggered. But especially the Europeans, when they were looking at the natives in the United States, well, in colonial America, they called them savages, you know, and they thought that these natives needed their guidance. They thought that they needed, you know, to be civilized, and the Native Americans were like, no, we're good. You know, we're smart. We hunt for our food. And that's the other thing is like cats are hunters, right? So it's like Aslesha, I noticed that for a woman, when a woman has Aslesha, she is wild, but she's also refined and she's very intelligent and she doesn't need anyone's help, not especially a man, but she doesn't need other people coming after her saying, you know, you need to be civilized, you need to be this, you need to be that. Actually, a lot of moon people prefer living in more natural environments. And this is actually why you see a lot of moon people that are trying to be controlled by outer forces. So like in the real story of Pocahontas, she was kidnapped. And the reason why they she actually married, I forget the guy's name. It wasn't John Smith. It was someone later. But the reason why they married was because because her family knew the land so well and they knew the crops so well, and they knew, I mean, it was their homeland, right? So they kind of needed that leverage, you know, and they knew that having Pocahontas, which was the chief's like favorite daughter, would give them a lot of leverage. So it was actually purely a political move, having Pocahontas marry this man. So I thought it was very, very interesting. So Aslesha is someone that doesn't need um, uh, people's help. You know, they don't mind living in the wild. And like I'm saying this again, and so what happens is they get a lot of people who think they're civilized, but actually they're not, and they'll try to come up on a Moon natives or an Auslation natives homeland, and they'll say, look, you're not living the right way. You need to live this way. You need to live more civilized. And the Moon person or the Auslation person is like, no, actually, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You think I'm an ignorant savage, right? You've been so many places, I guess it must be so. But still I just can't see if the savage one is me. How can there be so much that you don't know? It's like, oh my gosh, it's so true. So that's, and for her to be kidnapped, like that's such a good example of people coming up on Moon people trying to control them. Here's another Moon person is 11 from what's her name? 11 from Stranger Things. She is a Shravana Moon. And she also, and the whole point of the show is that the government is trying to capture this little girl, and just like Pocahontas, you know what I mean? So, and you have all these groups of big men and powerful men trying to, just putting the most effort into controlling this woman, and it's like, you can't. You can't. I am one with the earth. That's what I'm saying. Moon people are one with nature. As Celine Dion says, we follow the waves of the ocean. And it's so true. So, Colin Farrell is a Rohini son. And Kaoria Anka Kilcher is an Auslasia Ketu. So then I looked at the Disney movie of Pocahontas. And there's more Rohini in these men. So all these men are actually Moon natives, which is interesting because I just said that Moon people, especially the Moon women, are more attacked. But the Moon men, psychology is crazy. Psychology, you're always projecting. People are always projecting, So, Colin Farrell's a Rohini Moon. When I looked at Pocahontas, the 1995 film, Mel Gibson is Rohini Ketu. He has his Ketu in Rohini, which I thought was very, very interesting. So here's another example of a man being heavily influenced by Rohini. And remember what I said. Rohini, being Taurus, is very beautiful, but the actual star is very invading. It's very dangerous. It's a heavy hitter, and it can be very much a killer. It's very, very dangerous, And so, like I said, with the New World, Kaorianka Kilcher, who played Pocahontas, is an Auslasia Ketu. Well, Irene Bedard, who voiced Pocahontas in the 1995 film, has an Auslasia Jupiter conjunct her sun. So she's actually a Pushya sun, but she has Auslasia, because it's the sun, it shines, right? And it'll shine whatever is touching the sun. So she's got an Auslasia Jupiter touching the sun. And remember, Jupiter is very philosophical, right? Jupiter is very, it can be very religious as well. And also, Jupiter is a male planet, but the moon is a female planet. So you have these female men that are trying their best to attack these male women. So you have these men acting big and bad when really they have a lot of femininity in them. And then they're trying to, because they're projecting, because men, right? Then they're trying to attack all of these women who are actually very naturally fierce. A lot of these women have a very fierce placements, but they look beautiful on the outside. But inwardly, they're very, I don't want to say wild, but they have the energy that can handle the wild, So yeah, Irene Bedard has Auslasia Jupiter conjunct her moon. I thought that was very, very interesting. Okay, so then I was thinking about about a year or two ago, I went and saw Killers of the Flower Moon, which is also a little bit the same. It kind of is, because if you haven't seen it, it's with Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's about these Americans who kind of who marry this group of Native American women um, because these Native Americans found oil. And so now this group of, I think it's the Sioux tribe. I can't remember exactly. So I might be wrong about that. So you can feel free to fact check me. But this tribe struck oil, right? So now they're rich. So the movie is about this basically group of white men, including Leonardo DiCaprio, who marry all these Native American women because they want that money, right? Moon on the bad side, on a toxic side, because every energy can have toxic sides, So Moon, when it's on the toxic side, it can mean moochers, especially for men. I see so many men who mooch off of women, who mooch off of their mothers. Even now, like my boss, she has a lot of fierce energy in her chart. Her husband is a Moon native, and she's like, he doesn't make half of what I make. And she is a worker, she's strong, and her husband's a Moon native. And Moon is very beautiful, so her husband is very cute, very handsome guy, but Moon is very feminine, is very soft, it's very passive. So sometimes you'll see men who are Moon natives who are too passive. So what do? They don't go out and work for the money themselves. They marry rich women. So that's what this movie's about. Leonardo DiCaprio is a Moon native. He's a Hasta Moon. That's Moon, right? Hasta is a star in Virgo that's ruled by the Moon. And he has his Moon in the first house. So he's super, super Moon. And just like Mel Gibson, he also has his Rohini, his Ketu in Rohini. So that's more Moon, but also that invading quality, right? So Colin Farrell is a Rohini sun. Mel Gibson has his Ketu in Rohini, and Leonardo DiCaprio has his Ketu in Rohini. So Rohini is present in all three charts, which makes a man beautiful, but also invading and severe. So, so I'm looking at the Lily Gladstone. I'm looking at her chart, and I'm like, I'll bet you there's Aslation in her chart too, because Aslation is apparent in Rain Bedard's chart, and it's apparent in Orianka Kilcher's chart. But it actually was. She actually has no Aslation in her chart. Which was interesting. The other thing I want to say about Aslation before I move on to Lily Gladstone's chart, I said that the yoni for Aslation is the cat. So I remember a long time ago, I did, like 2-3 years ago, I did a video on lions, and it was interesting. So with a lot of movies, you'll see lions portrayed as very, very ominous, very aggressive, very threatening predators. So, you think of scary movies with lions like the Ghost in the Darkness or Prey or that one movie that Idris Elba did about the lions. I can't remember what it is. But what I noticed is that a lot of those moon placements were in Ardra. And so Ardra I looked up Ardra, the mythology, and in African mythology, Ardra, which is a star in Gemini, Ardra is like the predatory part of the lion, the scary part of the lion, right? But as Leisha, when I looked at the movie Christian the Lion, and I looked up several lions that have been born in captivity and that we know a lot about, and I actually looked up some of those lions' birth charts as well. And you know what they are? They're Aslation. Which is interesting because the yoni for Aslation is the cat. I thought that was really interesting. And by the way, on a personal note, my cat is an Aslation sun, which I think was pretty interesting. Yeah, so it's funny. So Ardra is also the cat, but it's like the fierce predatory part of the cat, whereas Aslation is yes and fierce and predatory, but also just very innocent, because that's what lions are. They might be very predatory, but they're still very innocent. They're just animals, So Lily Gladstone is an Ardra moon. So again, This is so much fierce energy, and it's tied in with the cat, tied in with an energy that's comfortable in the wild, tied in with an energy that comes from the wild. Um, yeah, but because they're women, I feel like a woman, just with her femininity and with societal roles, I feel like they can more easily hide their fierceness, whereas a man, because of societal roles, a man is gonna try to, project the most to be seen as, predatory and this and that. And what these movies and looking at these charts show, they show that there's all these men are actually very soft. That actually all these men are very passive, and that all these men are actually projecting onto women that are already naturally fierce, that are already natural survivors, and that don't need anyone's help or guidance or control. So I think that was very, very interesting. Um, the other thing I noticed was that Lily Gladstone is a Pushya sun, and Irene Bedard is also a Pushya sun. So Pushya being in the sign of Cancer, that's still Moon, but Pushya, the nakshatra lord for Pushya, is Saturn, and Saturn a lot of times is very tamasic actually. So what you'll get is you'll get all these women who actually not only are Ardra or Aslesha, which is like the cat, the wildness, right? But then you have to mix it with something even more fierce. So, the Oryanka Kilcher, her sun is in Danisha, which is Mars. That's Tamasic. Irene Bedard and Lily Gladstone, they're both of their sun is in Pushya, which isn't in the moon ruled Rashi of Cancer, but it's still the Nakshatra Lord is Tamasic Saturn. So you got these women who are very beautiful, who do have moon. I mean, they are moon women as well. Irene Bedard is a Shravana moon. It's so very much so. But I actually saw a lot more Aslesha, which is the whole point of this story is that Aslesha very much is the innocent predator, like the cat. You know, and it's very ironic that they, being in the wild, have a very comfortable sense of self, and so thus they are very they're more chill. But then you have these men who try to come in, who all have Rohini in their chart. They come in and try to invade, and what they don't know, what's happening is they're fucking around, and they're about to find out.